A while back, I made an episode outlining some of the most iconic action figure playsets of the 1990s. But we wouldn't have gotten some of those iconic playsets in the 90s if some really great ones didn't come out way before it in the 80s. So on this episode, we're exploring 10 of the most iconic 1980s action figure playsets. Welcome back, guys. It's Thomas, and we are going to look back at some of those amazing 1980s action figure playsets. And I was around for a little bit of the 80s, but I am mostly a 90s kid. I did get some of the tail end, and we'll talk about some of those pieces. Really just wanted to pay our respects to what came before. And some people would say that 80s action figure playsets walked so that 90s playsets can run. Other people would say that they peaked in the 80s. So in some ways, I can't disagree, and we're going to explore that throughout the episode. In 1983, LJN released the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Fortress of Fangs. Now, Dungeons & Dragons, at least in my world, did not have a big presence, whether it was the tabletop game, the cartoon, the toys. This was just something that we did not have around us. Even older cousins didn't have it, but learning more about different action figure lines and seeing the Fortress of Fangs, this thing is awesome. For starters, the artwork for this playset on the box is amazing. It's very reminiscent of that early 80s fantasy artwork, so really cool style, but the actual playset inside is not that big, but it does have some shelf presence. Basically, you're looking at this creature's open mouth, and it's part of the rock formation. It has these really imposing teeth and stalagmites that can fall down, really cool. But then the whole thing is just armed with traps. So there's a trap door where a figure can fall through. There is an axe when you're going up the stairs, can chop you. And then there's a catapult. So lots of cool stuff. It comes with a prison, and then it comes with some stones that you can put on the lava so your figures don't get melted if they fall in. So just a lot of fun play features with this thing. One of my favorite things is that it comes with this gargoyle, which is he part of the playset as a statue, or is he another character? He has no articulation, but you could have used your imagination back then. This is one of those playsets that makes me wish I was born just a little bit earlier so I could have experienced some Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. The next playset on this list actually made my most iconic playsets of the 90s list because it was reproduced years later, and that goes to Kenner's 1983 release of the Star Wars Ewok Village. So many people know the Ewok Village was later reproduced for the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves movie toy line, and that is the version of the treehouse that we had for those Robin Hood figures. But they're virtually the same play sets. They come with some different things. The Ewok Village one came with some awesome accessories. So you got the throne for C-3PO, that was really awesome. And then you got the fire pit in the middle, which the Robin Hood playset did not come with. The only big difference is that the Robin Hood playset came with some tree cover, so that was an add-on that really wasn't part of the original, but most of the same features. There was some trap doors you can slide your figures down. It had a working elevator, nets, all this cool stuff. But I think that Ewok Village playset is probably one of my favorite Star Wars playsets just because of all the play value you had. You could mix a lot of figures in it. You can use your Ewoks, the main heroes, scout troopers, you can use the Endor troopers, all those vehicles that go into that scene. This one probably had a little more world building to it, and it had to make the iconic 80s list. In 1984, Kenner released the Superpowers Collection Hall of Justice. And this might be the most unique on this list because it is one that is based off of a real building, the Cincinnati Union Terminal in Cincinnati, Ohio. This thing was awesome. It was folded up, and then when you opened up all the scenes, you had all these different areas that you can play with. So one side was a prison, it had a trap door, and you can lock your villains in there. Then there's a doorway that led to the other room with a control panel for your heroes to plan missions, places to park your vehicles on top, and then when it was done, you can actually fold this thing up, put your figures in the compartments, and use it as a carrying case. This thing was awesome, and that Superpowers line is iconic and an equally iconic playset for the list. Now, some people asked why I didn't put this next playset on my iconic 90s list, and that's because it came out right at the tail end of the 80s. And in 1989, Playmates released the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Sewer Lair. It's probably one of the first playsets that I ever remember owning, and probably one of the few I actually did own from the 80s. And it was the first one from the TMNT line that we got. It connected to the Technodrome that came out a year later, which was awesome. And it was just super fun. So the bottom was the lair where the turtles live, and there was an viewfinder that they can look up and see what's going on in the streets, and there was a place for Splinter and an elevator that brought you up to the top, and then a sewer cap where they can enter onto the surface level. It had these tubes and compartments where they can slide down. Really awesome. It had the antennas that your character can swing from. Just super awesome. They reproduced the same exact one within the last couple of years, where I could have gotten it at a decent price, but this one had a lot of great memories attached to it, and our first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lair of many throughout the years. Next on the list, I think we do have to give some credit to Barbie, and Barbie dream houses have been a staple in toy collecting since Barbie, and every generation of Barbie collectors has gotten their own different dream house. But in the 80s, they released a A-frame style dream house that was actually a reproduction of one from 1979 and later released in 84. This version of Barbie's dream house came in more of a pink and white color scheme. It had two different levels, it folded out, and they were just massive structures. And I remember going over to my cousin's house and seeing their types of dream houses that they had, thinking of what can I do with my action figures in that, even though it was a little too big. But still, we have to give credit where credit's due. The Barbie dream house is iconic no matter what generation we're looking at. So for that, it's on the list. Kenner making the list again, and in 1987 they gave us the Ghostbuster Firehouse. Now, I had the Sewer Lair and the Ghostbusters Firehouse, probably the only few play sets I had actually from the 80s, but this one has some great memories attached to it. First off, this thing was massive, at least to me at that age. I remember not being as tall as it at some point, and it just had different levels. You could put your figures on top. The Ecto-1 fit inside. It came with a ghost chamber where you can put your ghost in the trap. My favorite feature of the Firehouse was the pole that you can slide your action figures down. I always thought that was super fun, and I would actually use it not just for Ghostbusters, but with my Dick Tracy figures. Has to make the list of iconic 80s playsets because Ghostbusters gave us some awesome stuff back then. Next on the list goes to Kenner's 1985's M.A.S.K Boulder Hill playset. M.A.S.K, or Mobile Armored Strike Command, was a really awesome toy line. I think I just missed this one. We had G.I. Joe, but we did not have M.A.S.K. I think those figures did scale well together. They had different articulation, but I remember the vehicles being super cool, and everyone talks about Boulder Hill. It had a gas station built inside a mountain, which, how can you make a gas station fun? You make it a secret base for battle. This playset came with it all. It came with trap doors, it came with gun turrets. The boulder from the top of the hill would actually roll down, which was cool because it's in its name, Boulder Hill. And of course it had a jail for your villains. I feel like that's just a staple now. We've mentioned trap doors a bunch of times, but this one I always see people talking about as one of the greatest 80s playsets. Currently today, Loyal Subjects is remaking a lot of the M.A.S.K vehicles and figures. I haven't seen anything about them remaking the Boulder Hill playset. So if you wanted a new version of this, you might have one coming. So hopefully you're able to get your hands on one, or if you're a huge M.A.S.K fan, you probably already have one. In 1986, LJN making the list again with their release of the Thundercats Electronic Cats Lair. Now, this is before my time, so learning about this one is super fun, and I've seen it in person since at toy shows, but never really understood some of the features until researching for this video, and it looked awesome and ahead of its time. Giant tower with the cat's head on top, the glowing red eyes that lit up. It had the light beam in its mouth that had some of that kind of early RFID or laser tag technology. The arms opened up that you can put figures in. Of course, it had a trap door. And this thing was massive. Those figures I remember being pretty big, and you needed a big playset for it. So imagine pairing this with your Thunder Tank and your figures. This would have been an awesome centerpiece of any collection. So massive towering playset. Super 7 released it years later, and now collectors have a version of that they can use with their Super 7 figures. So that's awesome, and a great great piece for the 80s. And in 1985, Hasbro made toy history by making one of the largest playsets ever made, and that is G.I. Joe's aircraft carrier, the USS Flag. At 7 feet and 6 inches long, I don't think anything's been able to top that. But this thing was massive, and it was awesome.
I got it!
Electronic noises, you can talk into this megaphone, you can park some of your land vehicles on it, and you can put a whole Sky Striker on it, having it launch off the aircraft carrier. This thing must have been a load of fun for any kid that had it. It came with an exclusive figure, keel haul. Now, a quick question for those of you, you can put it down in the comments. Do you consider this a vehicle or a playset? I've had some people message me on a vehicle list I did and say the USS Flag, and I'm like, well, you can't really move that thing. It's pretty much staying where it is. So it's going on the playset list, but let me know, is it a vehicle or a playset or both? But at this point in time, I don't see any other playset breaking the record in terms of size with this one. So it's got to be on the list of iconic 80s playsets, but probably just on iconic playsets of all time. As an honorable mention, I just kind of wanted to put this on here to start a conversation, but for you Transformers fans, what was your iconic playset? I know there were some cardboard ones released. I hope those aren't your iconic playset. Those are kind of lame. I've seen some say that the 1987 Hasbro release of Fortress Maximus, that could be considered a playset. It was a giant Autobot that transformed into a base, although it doesn't scale well with your other Transformers. So did y'all just not get a playset? That seems crazy, but from what I understand, you could put a bunch of these larger Transformers together, making this super base. So does that count as your playset? Let me know. I'm not sure. Now, it's not the largest, but I definitely think this is the most iconic playset of the 1980s, and that goes to Mattel's 1982 release of Master of the Universe Castle Grayskull. When the Masters of the Universe figures were introduced, they were different. We were used to 3 3/4 inch Star Wars type figures. These guys came out all muscled up and started a new craze of toy collecting. And Castle Grayskull, I think, is one, even more than the USS Flag, that transcends toy collecting. Most people outside of toys might not know the aircraft carrier. They're definitely going to know the Master of the Universe Castle Grayskull. And I know there's some other amazing Master of the Universe playsets, but this is the one I think that breaks the boundaries of those toy collecting communities into pop culture, like I said before, and it's just truly amazing. It's been released many times since because collectors want it in all different versions, and for that, it has to be number one on my most iconic 1980s playsets. Alright folks, I was not around in the 80s, so I had to do a little bit of research for this one, putting it together. I knew about most of these playsets, but never really dove deep into really what they were about. So super fun to make. I've done my 90s list, I've done my 80s list. Maybe we'll do a list of all of the greatest playsets combined, pair them up against each other. Let me know down in the comments, would you have taken something off the list and replaced it with another playset? I think these are just some of the most iconic, and that's why we created this list. Hope you enjoyed this one, folks. If you did, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.